The internal combustion engines will be cut almost in half. Electricity will come to the fore. Fully carbon-neutral fuel will be introduced. And overtakes will now be done with a button. It sounds like the plot of a new Formula One movie. But no, this is what awaits us already in 2026. And since this year's season is almost over, let's finally talk about the new technical regulations. I'm doing this fairly late, but I'll try to cover only the most important points in the simplest language possible. To make things clearer, I'll spend a couple of minutes describing elements of the current cars that are about to change significantly. Let's start with aerodynamics. If we simplify it a lot, there are three main parts you need to know. The static front wing, the rear wing that a driver opens to increase top speed, and the floor. The floor is based on the Venturi effect and currently generates about 60% of a car's downforce. As for the power unit, today's car is a hybrid. A 1.6-liter V6 combustion engine plus 2 electrical units. One harvests energy under braking and charges the battery. That's the MGU-K. The other helps spool the turbo and also charges the battery using exhaust heat. That's the MGU-H. All of this forms the ERS system, which gives the driver an electric boost at key moments in the race. Right now, the internal combustion engine produces about 850 HP and the electrical part about 160 HP. Now let's run through the changes. The biggest and arguably most controversial change concerns the power unit. Next year, the power split will change. The share of electricity in the combustion engine will be nearly equal. Total power will remain roughly the same, around 1,000 HP. But there are important differences. The MGU-H will be removed, and energy can be harvested during the race only via the MGU-K, through braking. Many have already noted that drivers will need to lift off the throttle a little earlier before corners so they harvest enough charge. This will be especially noticeable on tracks with long straights, like Monza or Baku. Races will become more tactical. It won't be just about outright speed, but also about managing your stored energy. Think about it. You now need to harvest more electrical energy, but the ways to harvest it are fewer. FIA understands this, and therefore decided to reduce the electrical contribution as speed rises. In other words, the faster the car goes, the less electrical power it can use. On top of that, there will be a dedicated overtaking button to temporarily increase motor power. Here's roughly how it will work. The chasing driver presses the button and receives the full available power from the MGU-K, enabling a maximally efficient acceleration up to about 337 km/h. But there's a catch. The leading car cannot use this button defensively, so the leader's acceleration will be less effective. If that sounds like overtakes for the sake of overtakes, that's broadly correct. Lando Norris summed it up well. He doesn't want things to feel artificial or scripted. He wants real racing. He's worried that too many artificial aids would undermine the sporting integrity. Another small change. The fuel will become fully carbon neutral, though that will have almost no direct effect on racing. Now back to aero. First, FIA is moving away from Venturi tunnel floors. The new floor will be almost flat, closer to the design of earlier generations of cars. Second, cars will be slightly smaller and lighter, which will cut downforce by about 30% and reduce frontal aerodynamic drag by around 55%. That means F1 cars will lose one of their main advantages, extremely high cornering capability, but their top speed will improve. Remember DRS, the rear wing flap drivers open for a top speed boost? Going forward, the front wing will also be able to open. Drivers will be able to use this feature in specified zones on the track. They won't necessarily need to be within 1 second of the car ahead as with current DRS rules. Judging how effective this update will be is not straightforward. Naturally, opening both wings produces a bigger effect than opening only one. Bear in mind that overall, cars will be noticeably slower around a lap because of the reduced downforce. Summary: power units will be almost 50% electric. Cars will be slower through corners. But thanks to the overtaking button and the new active wing, races should become more exciting to watch. The final technical regulations may differ slightly from what I've described, but the overall picture will be the same. What does this mean for Formula One at large? Drivers and engineers compare the switch to 2014. This is probably the biggest technical regulation change in over a decade. Adrian Newey has warned that one team could again pull away from the rest, just as Mercedes did in 2014. Drivers like Carlos Sainz believe driving styles will have to be rebuilt, though they'll adapt quickly. His teammate, Alex Albon, said that initially the mental load on drivers will increase. You'll need to think about energy modes, regeneration, and unconventional techniques, which distracts from pure race rhythm. But Albon also noted there's a new challenge in that. Whoever adapts best will gain an advantage. Charles Leclerc admitted his first experience in the simulator wasn't enjoyable. By his account, the new car is currently less fun to drive. If the pilots and engineers face a tougher time, ordinary spectators stand to win. The racing process should become much more interesting, and a new constructor is joining next year. Cadillac will enter Formula One, with Sergio Perez and Walter Robots listed as their drivers. We can only wait and hope next season is as exciting as it looks right now.